from Colombia. We are 50 YouTubers in Colombia, and actually we lost about 18 hives because we had that hives in the near to the crops in the field, and the pesticides. Uh, we lost our hives. We only have in this moment like 5 hives in our roof, in our home in Colombia, but we actually have a lot of problems with the neighbors and everything because they want to take a complaint and everything. So I want to ask you how have you worked about um, the consistency with the people and the coexistence with people here and the urban beekeeping because people used to be afraid of. So how do you work or make people is more happier with this around the places and everything because we want to know and do something in Colombia because people doesn't know anything about the importance about the bees. Sorry, my English, I'm trying
I understood every word. It was perfect. Thank you. I would never have the courage to do that in another language anywhere. Even in English, I get very frustrated. So you did great. I think I understand your question. It is, what can we do to make the neighbors understand and kind of be at peace, and how can we get along with them and still have beehives on the roof, right?
How has been your work about work with people maybe in this kind of talks to the public and
Okay. So first I'm going to tell you that this is New York, and if somebody is not complaining about whatever you are doing, then you're not doing anything, because we like to complain a lot. And that's just the nature of being here. And the longer you're here, the more you'll understand that. But you told me before you're going to be here for about 3 more weeks, right?
Yes.
Okay. So there are different ways to look at this issue. One is look at the law or the regulations. Find out if your city has any laws or regulations, and make sure that you are following them. So in New York City, Hannah told you, and there are a couple she missed, that the bees have to have movable frame hives, like a Langstroth hive. They have to be 10 feet or about 3 meters away from a property line. They have to have a source of fresh water. So these are things that are important. And there are a few others. But find out if there are any regulations in your city and make sure that you follow them. That way, neighbors can't come after you from a legal point of view, okay? But then, of course, you have neighbors, and you want to be a good neighbor, and you want to, live amicably together. And I understand the idea behind that. I've never tried it. I think it's a great idea, and I'm going to look into it one day. But since you're a better person than I am, here's what you could do first. And this really works. Bring your immediate neighbors a jar of honey.
yeah,
I'm telling you, it's
the best.
it's magical. Here you are. We have some bees on the roof. I'll have some for you next year. It'll be worth the investment of 2-3 kilos of your honey to make your immediate neighbors your allies. And it will probably work. Talk to them about the bees. Do they have children? Invite them to look at the bees. Make sure the children put on the outfits for 2 reasons. One, for safety. You don't want the one sting of the month to be on the child's nostril, right? And 2, I have children too. They love to get dressed up in the outfits, you know? So it's a very hard thing, because diplomacy is, like, I don't have anything to do with it myself, but you could befriend them with honey. You could invite them to be a part of it and educate them a little bit. Find the biggest loudmouth in your neighborhood. Find the biggest.
I know, we have that person
Yeah.
three houses near
Right.
us.
So find this horrible person, okay, and make that person your friend. Give him or her the biggest jar of honey. Invite them over. Ask their advice about something. Do you have any more? Yeah. Do they have grandchildren? Do they have a dog? It's gonna be your favorite dog soon.
Closer neighbor has a dog,
Yeah.
and I don't know. she says the dog was bit.
She said the dog was getting sick. They're liars. They're lying. The people do that all the time. Like we have had bees here for years, and only when people realize that there are bees do they suddenly have problems with them. Like we have a little farm in Connecticut with bees, and the people who moved in on both sides of us, they moved in after us. So, you know, they knew they were moving next to a bee farm. It was deeded as a farm. It's a farm, you know. But I also know that the bees are not bothering them. The hubris in them is amazing, that they think my bees would waste their life on them, because if they sting them, they're going to die, right? My bee wouldn't bother, you know?
Yeah, I know.
So I'm giving you half a silly answer, but my serious answer is in there too. Make sure you're following the law, and then just be positive with them. Give them some positive information and education about the bees. And I guess the third step is you just have to ignore them, because if you're following the rules, and if you know you're doing it safely, then you're allowed to do it. Just like they didn't ask you permission when they got a dog and it barks. Just like they have a party and they have their music loud, and that's just the way it is. So, is that good enough? Hold on.
Yeah.
And if you have a landlord, make sure that the landlord gets the biggest jar of honey. That they really like you, yeah.
Yours house if you rent it?
It's kind of a familiar house.
Okay. So make sure whoever really owns the house is on your side, because that could be a weak point for you if it's a landlord or an uncle or whoever it is. So it's very tricky. But for example, there's a holiday called Sukkot that's coming up in 2 weeks or so in the world. So part of it is to set up a kind of a tent and put fruit in the corners hanging, okay? Now in September, this attracts hundreds, thousands of wasps and hornets and bees, and anybody with bees that are known in the neighborhood gets blamed for it, even though we don't keep hornets and we don't keep bald-faced hornets, you know? So unfortunately, if you're known to have bees, it's going to be your fault. So the best defense is just be nice, have a smile, and don't give in, because this is your passion, perhaps part of your livelihood, and as long as you're doing things legally and safely, I think you're entitled to do it.
I appreciate it.
Used to be